bud issues, so their taste buds actually don't function as well, so it's difficult for the crew to taste food, and that's why we fly 5 different hot sauces aboard the vehicle so that they can taste the food. The food is appealing because if it doesn't taste good, they won't eat it.
Right.
If they don't eat it, they lose weight. If they lose weight, typically you lose strength. We don't want that to happen during a mission.
Exactly.
So there are lots of things. The bones tend to get thinner. The lower body musculature gets weaker because you don't use it as much, right? So we have an exercise device on Artemis called Flywheel, and we're analyzing that. It's brand new, right? So they're testing it out, and people forget that this really is a test flight, right? We call it a test flight for a reason. We're testing all these things out, and so we'll be looking at that flywheel to see if it adequately protects the crew for their exercise, and if it doesn't, will augment or do something else, but that's really important for us to know for future missions.
We've also seen that I think it was Reed that remarked that when somebody is using the flywheel inside Integrity, the spacecraft kind of moves a little bit, and they like the way that it feels. So double benefits there. Not only are you strengthening your body, you're also enjoying the ride while you're at it.
Yeah, and it's a big psychological benefit. Most of our crew are fitness people, right? They like to exercise. It's a very positive psychological benefit for them.
Definitely.
And so it serves multiple purposes. It doesn't just keep you stronger, it actually helps your mental health.
Yeah, I know that whenever I exercise, I feel a lot lighter. I feel like I can accomplish anything. The world's my oyster.
Yeah, it's great for stress relief, and that's one of the things that we are looking at for this mission. The vehicle is much smaller than we're used to, right? We're used to Station, which is a 6-bedroom home when you think about the volume, and now we're talking about a camper van.
A camper van, 2 minivans, a 6-person tent. Depending on who you talk to, you might hear these various analogies.
So put yourself in there with your 3 bestest buddies, and you're exercising and they're exercising, and you're eating and they're eating, and you're sleeping and they're sleeping. And how does that affect the crew and their function and their mental health? And that's something we're looking at in a study called Archer.
So let's talk a lot about the Archer study and the mental health piece of it. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So we have a number of questionnaires and surveys that we're giving to the crew, asking various questions that relate to mental health. Not only their own, how are you feeling? Are you anxious about this? And sometimes, different parts of the mission, you see different things happening. Typically, when they're about to do the coolest part of the mission, so like when they're approaching the moon, you see their positivity really increase, and then those things can wane. So we're studying that, but we also have them wearing a device much like a smartwatch that many of us wear, but it's a lot more sophisticated and a lot more accurate than the ones that we wear, and we're tracking their light-dark cycles, so the wavelength, everything, and because we're really interested in their sleep. Sleep is really important in space.
It is.
And we know that it's difficult for some crew members to sleep. So we're really interested in tracking that. How much are they sleeping? What's the quality of that sleep, right? Because, when I wear my watch and I look in the morning, I think I got a good night's sleep, and it says, no, you woke up 15 times, right?
You don't even realize that half the time.
I know. It's crazy. And that's exactly what we're trying to track, because there might be things we can do to improve that are pretty minor. It's amazing sometimes just certain activities you do, certain wavelengths of light that you have in the cabin can make a big difference. So we're interested in all of that, so we're tracking that during Artemis 2.
Okay, so lots of human body, human physiology components. Tell me a little bit about some of the hazards crew could face while they're in orbit.
Sure. So we've identified 5 kind of overarching hazards that occur to the human in spaceflight, and we gave it an acronym because we have to.
Everything at NASA is an acronym,
Yep. And so our acronym for that is RIDGE.
RIDGE. Okay.
So radiation, isolation, distance from Earth, gravity, or actually lack thereof, and then environment. And the environment can be broken down into the hostile environment that's outside the vehicle and the enclosed environment that's inside the vehicle. So those 5 things have big impacts on the human, and each mission kind of has a different set of them. So for low Earth orbit, We're mostly looking at gravity or lack thereof because we're in microgravity. So that's a big effect on the crew, and it's the primary effect. But then you also have environment. And so we often hear of it smells funny and all these other
we've
things.
Heard these calls down in some cases too, right?
Yep. And we're looking at CO2 levels and all of those kind of things. But for a mission, like a longer duration mission for the moon or for Mars, not only do we have microgravity and that, but we also have more of an isolation component.
Right, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, and we don't really see that on station because they're only 250 miles away.
And they can see the planet.
They can see it
right there.
Yep, they can talk to their family.
Yep.
They get resupply, and so it doesn't feel
and
that
crew
isolated.
Comes up and they swap all of those pieces.
Yep.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yep, but for these types of missions, when you're in a smaller vehicle and you can't have that, we're looking at that. So that's more of a driver for some of these other missions.
Interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Fun fact for those of you watching, NASA actually has an acronym library, and all of the acronyms that I often don't even know, I look it up in there because there are so many. We are an alphabet soup of an agency, but thank you so much for spelling everything out for us.
Sure.
I do have a couple of other follow-up questions for you. So we mentioned some of the studies. You mentioned Archer. You mentioned the biomarkers, I believe.
So there's biomarkers in several different studies. So one of them is focused more on the immune system. And that was kind of cool because we're using kind of an old school technology there. So typically on station when we're looking for immunology, we do blood samples or we do saliva where we have them spit in a tube and we freeze it, bring it home. We couldn't do that with Artemis 2.
Of course, yeah.
And so we went back to technology that we've used in the past of essentially filter paper that they'll use. They put it on their tongue and the saliva absorbs into it. And then they just fold it up, put it in their pocket and bring it home. But we can take that when they get home and we can look at hormone levels, we can look at biomarkers, we can even see viral DNA and whether or not that's been reactivated, which does occur on station, so we're interested to see if that happens with Artemis as well. So that study is really important for us to understand the ways that these different hazards affect the crew, and if it's the same as low Earth orbit, where we know we have some immune changes, we want to track that in Artemis as well.
I'm glad that you're bringing these pieces up because yesterday, I believe when the crew got woken up, Reed did call down and say, hey, are we doing the saliva test today? So for those of you who did hear that call out, that is exactly what he was talking about.
Right.
Steve, can you tell us a little bit more about any of the other science that is going on over the course of the Artemis 2 mission?
Sure. We have another study that we call standard measures, which is kind of a boring name, but we name it that on purpose because we have standard measures for all of our different missions, and that allows us to track the data between Artemis and station and Artemis and shuttle, right? The durations are similar, so that's a really nice comparison. But also here on the ground, we do what we call analog research, whether it's a bed rest study or an isolation study, and we have standard measures there too that we can compare. And that's sort of like when you go to your doctor and you walk in and they do your blood pressure and your heart rate and they take some blood and they look in your eyes and look in your ears. We're doing that same thing, but from a research standpoint.
So just like we would go and get our annual physical, you are doing basically the annual physical while they're up in orbit, in low Earth orbit and in deep space. But depending on how much weight you can take up there, the amount of space in the cabin, things like that, you'll adjust and augment as needed.
Yep. And one of the cool things that we're doing with that study too is when they return, we have this little obstacle course set up. And they get to climb a ladder and lift some things and kind of do some maneuvers that might be a little provocative for when you come back. But we need to know that for not just when they return to Earth, but eventually when we land on the surface of the moon, they won't have a team of people there to help them out of the vehicle or to do that initial work. So we have to know how well they've adapted or, their body has changed. So the inner ear is a tricky thing, and we know that that's affected by spaceflight, and it can be difficult for the crew to move around for a few days when they come back. And it recovers like between 3 and 5 days so that they're back to normal. But for those initial days on the lunar surface, we need to know exactly how they're going to respond. So this part of standard measures where we're looking at how they're moving and can they climb a ladder and can they do these things. That'll be really important for those future missions.
I'm really happy that you're bringing these pieces up because although they seem so simple, these are the types of things that will help us be successful on the lunar surface, on a Martian surface, and even beyond that.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite science experiment?
Ooh, that's like asking someone who their favorite child is.
I know, but I have to ask.
Yeah, I know. Well, so I'm particularly interested in a couple things. One is I want to see how the crew respond in that much smaller vehicle. So I want to see how their team dynamic is. How well are they working together? Are there stresses? And you know, there's always going to be stresses with a group of people.
Exactly.
But being able to track that scientifically is really important. And then I want to see the results from that obstacle course, right? How well can they move around? What are they doing? And then how can we help them perform better in the future?
Okay. Just to sum up for those of you who are watching, Steve has been working for a number of years at NASA, but ever since we began rollout of the Space Launch System rocket, you said nearly 40 interviews that you've done.
Yep.
You've talked all about the science. You've seen the launch. You're watching the mission happen in real time. How are you feeling?
You know, and this is a surprise to me. So I view space a little differently, right? So I'm looking at it from the scientific standpoint. How do I keep the human healthy? How do I understand what's happening to the human? So I kind of see missions a little differently, but it's been very emotional because it seems like a sea change. It seems like it's special, right? Not to say that spaceflight isn't special, but we kind of get used to it, right? Because I've been here 23 years, and which isn't long for NASA because people stay here forever. But you know, you get used to all this cool stuff that we do every day, so you kind of forget how cool it is.
Yeah, or the cool factor kind of goes down.
Yeah, but this really reminded me, being there for the launch, seeing the excitement, and seeing the hundreds of thousands of people who showed up. And I sat in that traffic after launch, so I saw most of those hundreds of thousands of people. But it's very emotional. It's very exciting. It's really reinvigorated me. And so it's something that's really hard to describe, but it's been a phenomenal experience, and I'm really glad I'm here to do it.
Amazing. It's going to take us a little bit of time to get that data back when the crew does return and splashes down in 2 days, 9 hours, 23 minutes and counting.
Awesome.
But Steve, thank you so much for being with us today. We'll continue to provide live updates here from Artemis Mission Control.
Yeah, good.
This is Mission Control Houston here in the Artemis Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center. We are coming to you live with our 24/7 continuous coverage of the Artemis 2 mission. At a mission elapsed time of 6 days, 16 hours, 26 minutes and counting, the crew is getting ready to wake up in just about 33 minutes from now. That will kick off officially Flight Day 8. So before that happens, let's take a look back at Flight Day 7 and the mission highlights. Good morning from Mission Control Houston. We are at a mission elapsed time of 5 days, 14 hours, 2 minutes and counting. The Artemis 2 crew is currently in their sleep period. Now, we would like to share with the world that while the crew was asleep, we did receive some of those stunning downlinked images from the lunar flyby, which took place earlier in the cruise day. So let's take a look. Here we have it. The first image we see from behind the moon, the crew watched Earth set. There's a soft blue arc fading behind a silent, cratered horizon. And this view shows the moon fully eclipsing the sun. From their vantage point, the moon appears large enough to completely block the sun, creating nearly 54 minutes of totality, far longer than what we've experienced from Earth. The sun's corona is forming a glowing halo around the dark lunar disk, revealing the outer atmosphere normally hidden by the sun's brightness. Along the edge, you can also see a faint glow on the moon's surface. That's sunlight reflected from the Earth, softly illuminating the near side. It's a striking view and a rare opportunity to observe and document the corona as we return to deep space. This is Mission Control Houston coming to you live from the Artemis Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. At a mission elapsed time of 5 days, 17 hours, the crew was woken up aboard their Integrity spacecraft, marking the start of Flight Day 7 activities.
Good morning and welcome to Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. I'm Leah Cheshire Mustachio. The Orbit 1 team has just taken over from the Orbit 2 team and is led by Jeff Radigan, NASA Flight Director. The Capcom, or capsule communicator for today, is Stan Love. He's a NASA astronaut and is the only voice you'll hear communicating with the crew. Of course, there is an exception for that today, during which the science team will be conducting their post-lunar flyby conference. If you tuned in yesterday, you got a treat, and we got to see amazing views of the moon as well as hear the crew's description of them. Now, while the crew was taking those photos, they were also recording private voice notes that they sent down to the science team overnight. This morning, the science team is going to talk about the observations that the crew made while those are all still fresh. We've also got some other exciting activities coming up today, including a ship-to-ship call. The Orion spacecraft and the 4 Artemis 2 astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen, will be calling the International Space Station. We have 7 crew members living and working aboard the International Space Station, and we've just surpassed 25 years of continuous human presence living and working in space. This will be the first time that these 2 spacecraft have ever talked to each other. This is the first flight of humans aboard the Orion spacecraft, and in the official flight kit aboard Orion are some special flags. One of those is from Apollo 18. This is the American flag that would have been planted on the moon during that mission, should it have occurred. It was on display in the NASA headquarters building in Washington, D.C., making its way around the moon over 50 years since its originally intended flight. The other American flag aboard Orion is from a little more recent history. It was flown on STS-1, the first space shuttle flight, STS-135, the last space shuttle flight, and NASA SpaceX DM-2, or Demonstration Mission 2, which was the return of launching American astronauts from American soil on American rockets.
Good morning, Houston. We are 202,306 nautical miles away. Earth is pulling us back, and we are happy about that. We're ready for morning DPC.
We're happy about that, too, and ready for DPC. We've got about a dozen quick items for you, the first of which is updated nominal burn plan and nominal RTC last star on board.
Actually, Stan, we have one more small and quick thing. We just wanted to take this moment to recognize the two newest members of the Association of Space Explorers, NASA astronaut Christina Cook and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Reed and I are both members, and we're proud to welcome the two of them to this international body of human space explorers. And also congratulations to Jack Hathaway, who recently joined aboard the International Space Station. Thank you.
Thank you for those words, and welcome to the club.
Integrity, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Integrity is ready for the event.
Station, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Integrity for a voice check.
Integrity, this is the International Space Station. How do you hear?
Hey, International Space Station and Jessica, we have you loud and clear. How about us?
We have you loud and clear as well, and we have BME TV up, so we have a view of you right now, and it is making us so excited. We feel like you're here with us, and this is really just making our entire week right now.
We have been waiting for this like you can't imagine. Let me go check on our PFD. We are 201,726, now 25 nautical miles from planet Earth, which is just hard to believe. The scales are impossible to believe. And for the run of show this morning, I figured I'll say a quick hi, which I have done. I'll hand the microphone to fellow chump Jeremy. He can say a quick hi, and then we'll let you three 8-balls just get on with it. Yeah, thanks for giving me like a tiny bit of microphone time before the 8-balls get after it. But it's such a pleasure to be spending a little bit of time with our colleagues in space, and we talk so much up here, or we try to anyway, emphasize how important the work is that we're all doing in this program to do the types of things that get us ready to get back on the surface of the moon, and like the administrator was saying yesterday, onto Mars. And so we just appreciate you, and it's fun to be up in space with you at the same time.
We are so excited to be up here with you, and we had a couple questions. We are wondering, we know how fortunate all of us are as humans to come up here and look down at the Earth from above. Every astronaut that comes to space remarks on that, and we really wanted to hear what that felt like, how different that felt now from your new perspective around the moon.
Well, I'll start by saying we do miss the ISS. The views there are awesome, being able to see specific places, being able to see your home specifically. So y'all's views are absolutely incredible, and I miss them every day almost. The thing that changed for me looking back at Earth was that I found myself noticing not only the beauty of the Earth, but how much blackness there was around it. And how it just made it even more special. It truly emphasized how alike we are, how the same thing keeps every single person on planet Earth alive. We evolved on the same planet. We have some shared things about how we love and live that are just universal. And the specialness and preciousness of that really is emphasized when you notice how much else there is around it. Well, I hope I'm not talking over somebody, but I wanted to say a couple things to my Astro sister, Jessica. One, sorry to steal your next spacewalk day, everybody, but thank you for cheering us along anyway. And Jessica, I always hoped we would be in space again together, but I never thought it would be like this. It's amazing. Congratulations to you on being commander, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your trip in space.
Thank you so much, Christina. I totally share all the same sentiments, and I'm so happy that we are back in space together, even if we are, a few miles apart. We like to joke about that up here, too, because everyone's talking about the records of the distance, and we ran to the far end of the space station when you guys were on the other side so that we could claim we were the furthest away from you in that moment. Love all four of of you so much.
We were doing the same shenanigans here when we got to the furthest point from the moon. I tried to get to the furthest point from Earth. I tried to get to the furthest point in the spacecraft, and my crewmates were clawing me down. And I know that's a joke. We were busy doing science, but we had that same conversation. It was a lot of fun. I don't know how much longer we have here, but from the 4 members of the spacecraft integrity, we really want to just say our deepest appreciation to the 7 members of the International Space Station, and this has been a true treat. It takes the entire world to do amazing things like this, and to get to come together as this group of people and talk for just a minute at these distances. We are all off the planet Earth right now, and we're all going to go home to that planet, and that is a very special thing. So thank you all for tying in.
We are loving all 4 of you from here, from the space station in low Earth orbit. We'll keep the fires burning here.
And we'll keep carrying the fire. Thanks, guys. Over and out.
Coming up next for the Artemis 2 crew is a conference with the science team. They will be reviewing what they saw yesterday during their lunar flyby, sharing any findings or interesting information with the science team while it's all still fresh for the crew members. Of course, they have quite a lot of audio recordings that have been downlinked to the science team, and that team has been reviewing and will continue to do so to help them understand what the crew saw and formulate new thoughts about our moon.
Integrity science, I have to start with a giant wow. Our whole lunar science team and the broader science community has been pouring out positive feedback and gratitude, so know that what you did yesterday really made a difference scientifically. Also want to say the science team has confirmed the locations of the proposed Integrity and Carroll craters, and it was such a powerful moment here for everybody listening and following along. And then also, just before I dive into the list of questions, we heard both Christina and Victor yesterday commenting that being able to discuss with each other amongst your crew, taking things from observation to inference to hypotheses, really added scientific value, and so we'd love to build on that here. So we'll ask specific questions for you guys, but please treat it like a discussion as we heard you yesterday that enhanced value. When you're ready, I'll dive into our questions. Good. Okay, for Christina and Victor, during Earth set, we heard you say that the Earth was so bright it made the moon look dark. So you all had the Earth in view during the majority of your flyby. Did you notice any time when the brightness of Earth began to change your view of the moon's brightness? And can you describe how your perception of the moon's color changed as the Earth came closer to the moon?
Yeah, absolutely. And essentially, as soon as the Earth became in the view, the easy view, where I didn't have to turn my head, when it was in what I'll call my field of view, not my field of regard, when I could just see it looking straight, the moon was already at a point where I was losing our subtle albedo differences. I think it's the angle of incidence. The angle, the sun to the moon didn't change much, but we moved to the side, so we were seeing a different angle, and the color was less apparent. Oriental had also rotated really close to the limb, so a lot of the features that I was looking at were moving away, but I think the change in lighting was due to the angle of incidence, but then when the Earth became apparent, its brightness, it was so bright. It was so bright it looked out of place. The gray of the moon and the black of space kind of seemed to go together, but then more in the dull sense, but then the vividness and brightness, like the difference between an LED display and a painting, right? You can just do things with light that you can't do with paint colors. The Earth looked out of place, and it just continued to dim the albedo and color that was earlier apparent in the moon. I'm passing to Christina.
You saw me nodding vigorously back here. That wasn't just my fantastic listening skills. I was nodding to make sure. Oh, we're not on video. This whole time I've been putting on a show. I was nodding, now you know, because I agreed with everything he said. I'll add a couple thoughts that popped into my mind, which was, I think I made the comment that the moon turned into a sponge of light. In my mind, before the Earth came into view, the moon actually was reflecting light, and it was lit up. As soon as the Earth got close enough to be in my field of view to take them both in at the same time, exactly what Victor said, it dulled, it turned into a sponge. It's almost like it went matte.
Next question is for all of you. Ohm crater was observed by all four of you, and we're interested in whether your different viewing angles resulted in how you observed Ohm. Jeremy and Reed saw it first. Were you able to see the ejecta rays, the central peak? And then Christina and Victor, you were next, and you observed Ohm later in the past. Could you resolve similar or different features than what you're about to hear from Jeremy and Reed?
The ejecta blanket for Ohm, I mean, it definitely changed as we went around the moon, but it did not change that much. It was always there. It was always fairly apparent. What is more apparent than the ejecta is the brownish gray, darker area that makes the 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock cut of the pie shape. Like that was always very apparent, and the ejecta rays just made that contrast much more apparent. But overall, Ohm did not change drastically as we went around the moon, unlike Oriental, which drastically changed as we went around the moon. And I'll keep going there. And I'm kind of going to read this question, but it was later on in the orbit that I noticed the ray of Ohm, like the primary ray of Ohm that comes out of roughly the 3 o'clock position, was on the Mare. And I'm not sure if I was picking that up initially in our first observations, but definitely in the latter. Did you notice that at all? No, the near side Mare, yeah. Yeah, Reed says he was noticing that the whole time. That might have been more noticeable to me later on, but that would be the only delta.
Now this view inside the SIR, the Science Evaluation Room, you can see this team of scientists taking a look at one of the photos that the crew shared. And you can see the photos from the crew at images.nasa.gov or by visiting NASA's social media. That's at NASA or at NASA Artemis. You're now looking at a live view outside the Orion spacecraft, solar array wing positioned to look at the spacecraft itself. This is Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. The voice you hear on the ground is Capcom and NASA astronaut Stan Love speaking with the crew aboard Orion, specifically Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. We are targeting the RTC-1 burn today. That's Return Trajectory Correction 1. That is targeted for about 7:03 p.m. Central Time. This is a small burn using the reaction control system thrusters on the service module of the Orion spacecraft. This helps us fine-tune our path back home. Stan Love was letting the crew know that we are canceling their first preliminary burn targeting conference. They have another one of these in a couple of hours when they will have the final burn plans uplinked and the final targeting complete. Here's a video from the outside of Orion, and as we mentioned, pilot Victor Glover is exercising. We do see the spacecraft move a little bit when the crew is exercising, and so the teams here park the solar arrays into a safe harbor position. That means any motion that they experience due to the exercise doesn't damage the solar arrays. You're looking at a visualization of the spacecraft. Now 48,670 miles from the moon and 228,090 miles from Earth, continuing to grow closer. You can keep up with this data at any time by visiting nasa.gov/track-Artemis.
Down and to the left, line 17, the DAP load is 3 for burn maneuver.
Go ahead.
In the guidance solutions section, the delta V tote now 1.4 feet per second. The TGO is unchanged at 1.5 seconds.
Good, go ahead.
Attitude, yaw, 154. Pitch, 26. Roll, 287.
That was Capcom's Stan Love here in Mission Control Houston, a fellow NASA astronaut speaking with NASA's Christina Cook aboard the Orion spacecraft. The crew aboard the spacecraft is preparing for their return trajectory correction burn. It's the first of these return trajectory correction burns, reported to be 1.4 foot per second delta V burn. Such a fantastic view coming from a solar array camera on Orion, looking back at all of us here on Earth. Currently, the spacecraft is 227,756 miles away from our home planet. Orion is now 49,168 miles away from the moon. Earlier today, the spacecraft exited the lunar sphere of influence. That's when the pull of gravity is strongest on the spacecraft. And we are standing by for the return trajectory correction 1 burn, now just 43 minutes away. Again, this is a small maneuver for the spacecraft, firing of those reaction control system thrusters.
And Integrity, MCC is go for the burn.
Okay, we copy, you're still go, and we're go up here.
Ground team confirmed that we are go for the RTC-1 burn, return trajectory correction 1, coming up in 27 minutes. That will be at 7:03 p.m. Central Time.
Integrity, tank pressures are good for the burn.
Standing by for the RTC-1 burn. We have ignition and 4 good engines and good control.
Integrity, preliminary look is a good burn. Still assessing, 40 seconds to LOS.
Okay, Stan, we saw a good burn on board as well.
Roger.
Confirmation from the crew that they also saw a good return trajectory correction 1 burn, coming at 7:03 p.m. Central Time. This view coming from the spacecraft, looking down at the European service module and the solar arrays. This is Artemis Mission Control. We did get final confirmation of that return trajectory correction 1 burn being a successful burn, and it ended up being 1.6 feet per second delta V. We are in a forward link LOS, or loss of signal, and the crew aboard the Orion spacecraft is, Christina Cook specifically, is going to get into some exercise. Again, this is a quiet day for the crew as they had a very busy day yesterday and have some busy days coming up as well.
And Reed, we just went around the room.
Oh.
We are all good. You can begin exercise now if you'd like.
Okay, we will. It is pretty interesting up here. I'm sure you see in the data, but we can definitely feel the vehicle moving around when folks are exercising. It's pretty cool to just sit there and float and feel the vehicle kind of. It's not like a ship rocking in the ocean, but you definitely feel it wiggling around.
We also see it in the SAW video as well as our data, but good to hear your report on it as well.
Hey, one last question. This is for a little later tonight, but we kind of want to do a couple deep sky long exposure photographs. If the saws are in the windows and it's possible to get the lights turned off on the SAW cameras in about an hour, we might appreciate that, but clearly not if it interrupts any sort of ops down there.
Reed, we think that will be doable. We will double check and we'll let you know when you're done exercising.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston here in the Artemis Flight Control Room. We are coming to you live with our 24/7 coverage of the Artemis II mission. The Orion spacecraft, named Integrity, is 83,000 miles and counting away from the moon and 200,000 plus miles away from the Earth. We continue to provide you live coverage at a mission elapsed time of 6 days, 16 hours, and 57 minutes. The crew is getting ready to wake up and kick off Flight Day 8 of the mission. 2 minutes and 30 seconds counting down from now. We'll continue to stand by for that wake-up call. This is Mission Control Houston.
Your friends and colleagues at the Canadian Space Agency wish you another great day on your voyage. Canadians everywhere are inspired by your journey, and we're with you every step of the way. Let's go.
And good morning. This is Mission Control Houston in the Artemis Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. At a mission elapsed time of 6 days, 17 hours, the crew was woken up. This marks the start of Flight Day 8 activities. Today's wake-up music was Under Pressure by David Bowie and Queen, as well as a message from Canadian Space Agency employees, which was kicked off by saying, "Go Artemis 2." We'll stand by for crew wake. This is Mission Control.
in integrity on 1. PCD1 has been shut down and restarted. If that helps, you can see I don't have any new data on there, so take a look, please.
Okay, Reed, copy. We do see it up and running, and we will take a look at that. And while I have you, a quick timeline delta for you. We need to privatize OE2 at 1840 MET for a quick weather conference. Is that good?
Yes, that's great.
Okay, and then accordingly, we'll go ahead and delay the ACU power cycle until after that is over.
Okay, I don't think anybody's really reviewed the timeline yet, and I don't have a timeline on PCD1, just so you know. But we'll look, and we'll no problem with all of that. Thanks, Mark.
You bet. Integrity Houston for Reed. We are going to go ahead and sync your PCD now and your email.
Okay, we copy that, and I assume that means hands-off email. Does it have any other restrictions, or just hands-off everything?
Yeah, just hands-off email. And also the weather conference, the weather is looking good. We'll give you the details during that conference.
Okay, yeah, thanks. We appreciate that.
This is Mission Control Houston in the Artemis Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. At a mission elapsed time of 6 days, 17 hours, today's wake-up call for the Artemis II crew aboard the Integrity spacecraft marked the start of Flight Day 8 activities. Today's wake-up music was Under Pressure by David Bowie and Queen, as well as a message from Canadian Space Agency employees, which kicked off by saying, "Go Artemis II." Activities today are focused on a Orion crew survival suit detailed flight test objective where all 4 crew members are scheduled to test an orthostatic intolerance garment. During the test, the crew will evaluate the garments, which is specialized equipment designed to help astronauts maintain blood pressure and circulation during the transition back to Earth's gravity. An on-orbit news conference comes up later on in the day at 8:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time, today, Wednesday, April 8th, to speak with media as the crew is heading back to Earth in 2 days, 7 hours, and 49 minutes and counting down. There's a second detailed flight test objective that will focus on manual piloting, where the crew aboard Integrity will take manual control of the spacecraft using Orion's field of view to center a designated target before guiding the spacecraft to a tail-to-sun attitude and comparing Orion's control modes. The manual piloting demonstration will begin at 9:55 p.m. Central Time. The crew aboard Integrity remain on a free return trajectory as they make their way back home to Earth. Meanwhile, in Artemis Mission Control, the Orbit 3 team here has handed over to the Orbit 1 oncoming flight control team. I'm Nilofer Ramji, handing things over now to our Orbit 1 commentator, which includes Leah Cheshire Mustachio, who'll take you through the next few hours as we kick off Flight Day 8 of the Artemis 2 mission. And later, our Orbit 2 commentator, Anna Schneider, who will be taking you through the rest of the crew's day. Signing off, this is Mission Control Houston.
Houston Integrity for battery charging and dot cam.
Go ahead, Reed. Orbit 1 team is with you now. And Reed, go ahead. Orbit 1 team with you now.
Houston Integrity, Orbit 1, radio check.
Reed, we have you loud and clear. How us?
Gotcha, the same. Don't know if you heard my last. For the docking camera, I know we're going to use it periodically today, but when it is not being used, is there any chance we can unpower and plug in the USB-C power strip? We're running a little bit low on some of our peripheral battery power.
We heard your earlier call. Evidently, you didn't hear our response and checking on the docking cam.
Okay, thanks.
And Reed, we're using the docking cam for another 30 minutes. After that, you can unplug it and use the USB charger.
Okay, that sounds awesome, Stan. Just let us know when we can do that. Thanks.
Will do.
Hi, and welcome to Artemis Mission Control on Flight Day 8. I am Leah Cheshire Mustachio. The Orbit 1 team has just taken over in the room, led by Flight Director Jeff Radigan. We are on Flight Day 8, and the spacecraft is now just under 200,000 miles away from home. Our 4 astronauts, Reed, Christina, Jeremy, and Victor, all beginning their journey back to Earth. It's going to be a busy day for the crew. They are going to have some exercise timelined, as well as a chance to check out their orthostatic garments, part of their Orion Crew Survival System suits. They'll also have a couple of public affairs events when we look forward to hearing and seeing the crew. The view on your screen coming from outside the Orion spacecraft, that is a view from a camera mounted on its solar array wing looking at us on Earth. Of course, that little crescent will continue to grow larger as we approach for splashdown, now targeted in about 2 days, 7 hours, and 34 minutes. The crew woke up at 10:35 a.m. today, Central Time, to the song Under Pressure. They are now in their post-sleep period, conducting any hygiene, configuring their cabin by putting up their window shrouds and their sleeping bags, as well as enjoying breakfast. Flight Day 8 on the menu for breakfast, we have couscous with nuts, vegetable quiche, granola with raisins, almonds, oatmeal and brown sugar, peanuts, strawberry lavender super seed, protein bars, and of course, some coffee. We've already heard from the crew aboard the spacecraft this morning. However, they are in their post-sleep period, so it's going to be pretty quiet for a little while. We're expecting their daily planning conference, or DPC, in about an hour. That's when the flight control team here in Houston will be able to relay any statuses for the day, any plans for the astronauts, and answer any questions from the crew themselves. We are a mission elapsed time of 6 days and 18 hours since the launch of Orion atop the Space Launch System from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. But we are on Flight Day 8, so before we get into the flight day, let's take a moment to get reacquainted with our crew. Artemis 2 Commander Reed Wiseman is a Baltimore native. He's been in space once before as a flight engineer for Expedition 41 aboard the International Space Station from May through November 2014. That's a 165-day mission during which his crew completed more than 300 science experiments in areas like human physiology, medicine, physical science, earth science, and astrophysics. He also served as chief of NASA's astronaut office from December 2020 to November 2022, and back on Earth has 2 daughters. Artemis II pilot Victor Glover was selected by NASA as an astronaut in 2013. At that time, he was serving as a legislative fellow in the United States Senate. His first trip to space was in November 2020 when he launched as a pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew 1 mission. And that was the first operational mission of NASA's Commercial Crew program, which resumed launching American rockets from American soil to the International Space Station since the end of the Space Shuttle program. Victor is a U.S. Navy captain and naval aviator who served as a test pilot, racking up more than 3,500 flight hours in more than 40 different aircraft. Back on Earth, he and his wife have 4 children. Mission Specialist Christina Cook is a native of Grand Rapids, Michigan. She was selected to the Astronaut Corps the same year as Victor Glover, 2013. She served as a flight engineer on the space station from March 2019 to February 2020, during which she set a record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman, with a total of 328 consecutive days in space. During that expedition, she also participated in the first ever all-female spacewalk with her colleague Jessica Meir, currently aboard the International Space Station. Before becoming an astronaut, Christina helped build space science instruments and led scientific fieldwork in some of the most remote environments on the planet. Her hobbies include surfing, rock climbing, community service, yoga, travel, and photography. First-time flyer Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen is flying to the moon as a mission specialist on the Artemis II mission. This London, Ontario native was selected as an astronaut in 2009 and then worked as a CAPCOM, or Capsule Communicator, here in Mission Control. CAPCOM stands for Capsule Communicator. Again, that's the sole direct voice communicating with the astronauts in space. Jeremy also participated in training exercises like living on the ocean floor off the coast of Florida to simulate deep space exploration for 7 days. And in 2017, he became the first Canadian to lead a NASA astronaut class. He enjoys getting out on a sailboat, rock climbing, and mountain biking, and back here on Earth, Jeremy and his wife have 3 children. That's your Artemis II crew, now 6 days, 18 hours, and 3 minutes in space.
Integrity Houston for Reed. PCD1 update is complete. Go for use and email.
All right, Stan, that is outstanding. We also had a couple items for PAO from yesterday in the imagery for downlink on that PCD, 3 folders with GMT097. Hopefully you guys got those down, but I don't see the downloaded tag on them.
Reed, we'll start bringing those down now.
This is Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston. Those calls from NASA astronaut and commander of Artemis II, Reed Wiseman, letting the ground teams know that they have more imagery they'd like to send down. We really look forward to seeing that, and we've really enjoyed seeing all of the photos that they've sent so far. If you've missed any of them, please visit NASA's social media. That's at NASA or at NASA Artemis, or just go to images.nasa.gov. You're looking at a live view from the Orion spacecraft, now 198,048 miles from Earth, that little crescent in your screen. Of course, that'll continue to grow over the next couple of days, looking significantly larger tomorrow and even more so on Friday as we prepare for splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. We're now 85,930 miles away from the moon, having completed our lunar flyby on flight day 6. In this live view, you can also see Orion's European Service Module. That large thruster in the middle is the OMS engine, or Orbital Maneuvering System engine. That's what we used to complete the translunar injection burn on flight day 2. That translunar injection burn is what put us on this path that sent us around the moon and also committed us to our splashdown. Since the translunar injection burn, we have only completed 2 small trajectory correction burns. These are using the reaction control thruster systems on Orion. We are live in Artemis Mission Control here in Houston, Texas. The crew woke up at 10:35 a.m. Central Time today, and they are still in their post-sleep period, getting to eat some breakfast, configure the cabin for the day, and it's about an hour until we expect to hear from them for the daily planning conference. That's when the team here in the ground will report out any systems updates or things that the crew needs to know ahead of another interesting day. Today on the timeline, the crew will be working with their orthostatic intolerance garment. This is OIG. The crew will take body circumference measurements and don or put on and wear and take off that orthostatic intolerance garment. They will wear this underneath their The crew will each take turns taking these measurements for each other, and at the same time, a couple of other crew members will be exercising. Later in the cruise day, they will also conduct the manual piloting demo. If you recall, they conducted the first part of this demo just a few days ago when 2 crew members were performing part of this manual piloting demo. This is the chance for the other 2 crew members to do the same. They will center a target in the window field of view and pilot based to the tail to sun attitude. This is typically how we charge the batteries aboard Orion, by putting those solar arrays directly towards the sun. So this is an opportunity for the crew to yet again manually fly the Orion spacecraft.
Integrity Houston for docking cam power.
Go ahead, Stan.
The docking cam is shut down. You can unplug it and plug in the USB charger. If you're taking the camera out, please leave the bracket installed.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to leave the docking camera installed for the most part today. I don't expect us taking it down, but we'll let you know if we do. Thanks. We're turning it off.
Roger.
This is Artemis Mission Control here in Houston, Texas, at Johnson Space Center. We are in the Orbit 1 shift, and the astronauts woke up at 10:35 a.m. Central Time aboard Orion. This view coming from the spacecraft, looking alive at us back here on Earth, the destination for our crew. Splashdown is targeted for April 10th, 2 days, 7 hours, and 1 minute from now. The crew is in their post-sleep period, so they're taking time to get ready before their day. So it's going to be a little quiet for the next approximately 45 minutes to an hour. We are in a temporary loss of signal with our video aboard the Orion spacecraft. We expect to regain that communication shortly. 6 days, 18 hours, and 33 minutes into the flight of Artemis 2. Again, the crew is waking up in their post-sleep period. They have a full day today after having a little bit of a rest day yesterday following their very, very busy lunar flyby on Flight Day 6.
Integrity Houston, we are ready for your weather brief on private Orion to Earth 2.
Heading over now.
You're looking at a live view from the Orion spacecraft on the Artemis 2 mission. Soak in this view of Earth because it's going to be rapidly changing over the next few days. We are now 6 days, 18 hours, and 40 minutes into the first flight of humans aboard the Orion spacecraft, targeting splashdown just over 2 days and 6 hours from now. As you just heard, the ground team called to the crew aboard Orion. They are ready for a little weather briefing, and that would be specifically for their splashdown attempt. By allowing them to have a private discussion on their loops or their communication channels, this lets the astronauts ask any questions or express any concerns freely. We're live in Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, continuing to monitor the flight of our crew aboard Orion. The spacecraft is now 197,043 miles away from Earth, the small sliver you see on your screen. You can keep up with where Orion is at and its configuration at any time by visiting nasa.gov/track-Artemis. Again, the crew is in their post-sleep period, having woken up at 10:35 a.m. Central Time, and we expect to speak with them in about 40 minutes. That'll be for the daily planning conference when teams on the ground relay the status of the spacecraft for the day, as well as answer any questions from the crew before they get to work.